Okay, let's take a look. I love the piece. I do. I think that, well, I've talked about this piece. This was good. This is a good decision. I think, look how much more easy this page flows. I'm just gonna move that to get that out of the camera, but watch. Okay, so you're basically, a good way to think of it is you're setting a cadence for the rest of the publication, the rest of the magazine, the rest of the zine. Okay, and you're doing that by establishing a consistency and the way your typography looks. Okay, so that's why you don't want to jump big to small to medium to. So this is great, and note how much easier the pages flow. Okay, so you would turn the page from that to that. Very comfortable. From that to that. Very, very comfortable, as you don't have that jolting scale difference that we had before. I thought that was a little jarring. One of the things I would recommend here, well, this is final, so one of the things that I think that you're going to find some comments for in final grading is this right here. And let me zoom in here and show you what I mean. Remember, I talked about hanging punctuation. It's really super important. And it's hanging punctuation is something that not all designers even know about. So, and this is what it is. Let me just grab this. I'm going to Command R this, grab a guide. Let's pull that guide out. I'm going to set that guide right where that period is, okay? All right, so as we can see, that E lines up, that E lines up, that E lines up, but the punctuation and that E down there, they're set in a little bit because you haven't hung your punctuation. In the real world, what you would do is this. You would set your guide to the end of that E right there. All right, and that, see how that E hangs over that guide? You don't want that. The only thing you want hanging over that right margin is your punctuation. All right, so you would have your periods and your quotation mark. So that period would literally line up with those periods there. All right, and that quotation mark would hang off the end. And it's called hanging punctuation or hanging quotes, and you can research it. It's this really simple technique. And you guys are going to be glad that you learned it in this class, because I guarantee you're going to have teachers down the line that are going to go, hanging punctuation, that's advanced. Where'd you learn that? And you'll say, Mr. Maldonado taught us that. Thank you very much. So it's a really good practice. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Let's go ahead to the next page. Fantastic. I think this page here is set a little too high. And you know, boy, this is something, another little trick that I want to show you. And I'm just going to grab another guide. I'm going to pull it down right to her eye. Now, in a natural sight line like this, and what you want to do is you want to use that, because anytime there's an image of a human or an eyes on a page, we're going to look right there. So you can exploit that by just drawing that natural sight line over here as a place to start your quote. Okay, fantastic. This page is lovely. Lovely page. As is this, and I understand you can't find a high res. That's cool. I'm fine with that. But I think you've done just wonderful work. I think the conceptual development is advanced. I think you understand the ideas, the comparisons, how we're kind of drawing these comparisons between two different periods of time. And in order to do that, you need to understand the two periods of time which you're showing proficiency. Outstanding. All right, this is going to score very well, Catherine. Very well. A little bit worried about that punctuation. I did mention that a couple of times. Looks like you left align that, right align that. That's cool. Awesome. Maybe you just forgot about the punctuation. You hung your punctuation over here, and you hung it here. It's the same thing with the right margin. The exact same thing. You got to hang that punctuation. All right. So I'm so happy with this, and I'm so pleased with this class, especially those of you who really, really just hung in there through week after week with these really, really stellar examples of these comparisons that we're making. So fantastic job. Love it. Any questions, comments, concerns whatsoever, please let me know. Thank you so much for sharing.